Hello everybody, it's Larry and welcome to today's video. And today we have a topic that has been requested quite a bit in the comments over the past year. It is about what are the odds. Now, What Are the Odds is a tool who is the brainchild of Leah Larkin. You may know her from her blog, thednageek.com. And she enlisted the help of Johnny Pearl and Professor Andrew Millard. And with that, they made it into a reality. And what this does, it allows you to enter or upload a tree and check and see what the statistical likelihood is of how you think a tree is. Now, most people use that for breaking down a wall further out, which is great. And there are some videos already on the internet that show you this. But now, what I'm going to do is I'm looking primarily at DNA surprises, which means most of the stuff that I'm doing is, for a parent or grandparent. And when the numbers are that close, you can be pretty sure. And so I have an advantage on that. It's not for the probabilities further out. We're dealing with, some that are a little more absolute, a bit closer. But we're going to look at how you can check your DNA and see if maybe you have a surprise you haven't found. So warning signs there. But then also, once you develop a new tree, and let's face it, folks, doing the hard paper trail to find a tree is a key part of finding out who your biological father, mother, or grandparents are. So with that, we're going to use what are the odds, and we're going to find out if indeed the connections that I had in my tree 2 years ago were correct, and then we're going to look at what are the probabilities today. So, as you know with the story, I was born Larry Dwayne Basie. Dwight was my father, and I was named after his brothers Larry and Dwayne. And so with that, Dwight has passed, Dwayne has passed, Larry's alive, and he took a DNA test. And when he took the DNA test, the centimorgan match was 0. Didn't show up. So it's either 6 or less or 0. So I want to know, using me as the hypothesis, is this right? Well, this has a score of 0. What does that score mean? Well, not statistically possible. It asks, is your tree accurate, and could there be a misattributed paternity event? In other words, did I misattribute, a parent in here? Well, yes, I did. As it turns out, it was a Brown. Okay, but just on the fact of putting in that, if you get a score of 0 to where you are based on the stuff that you put in there, okay, if you put this in, you get a score of 0 with the centimorgans you put in for your DNA matches on the tree, then something's wrong. Now, it doesn't mean that's not there. The first thing you have to do is see if there's half kinships. See right here, it says define half relationships. Was there a half relationship between Larry and Dwight in any of these? Well, in this case, no, there were not. Okay, so they were all full kinships. But even if we had said that, Dwight was a half kinship, it's still 0 in this case. All right, so there was not a half kinship. That is, just he's not related to me DNA wise. All right, so let's look up the other tree, and we're gonna look up the Brown tree, and I pre-entered it simply because I didn't want to have you watching me. I know a lot of other videos they're entered as we go. I'm just gonna have this in here. So I want to know, here's the relatives, and you can also see the kinships. Let me remove that half relationship. I guess I could have done that before the video, huh? All right, remove all these half relationships and move this half relationship with Rachel. And here's the tree as I was just building out the tree. All right, so the first thing you want to do is use your Ancestry DNA. Now, I use these because those are the public profile names. And so this is not, it says Sam Shovel. It's a female. It's a made-up name. And so we're going to enter the centimorgan match, and that is 1606. All right, and Mike, which, whether that's the real gender and name or not, that's the name there, and that was 731. All right, so then AM was 840, and there's only a few of them here, so bear with me here. This was 441, and this was 206. And of note, this one was 758. All right, and then this one, or no, this was 7, edit some more minutes, 783. And, all right, so there's what I have. there are the centimorgans that I've got from different relatives that are now inside the Ancestry DNA match list. So the question is, there were three brothers, Larkin, Paul, and Ernest. Which one of these three brothers is my father? So I have me 1, I have me 2, and me 3. So we're going to make this hypothesis 1, hypothesis 2, hypothesis 3. Now remember when I said if you have a score of 0, it means something's not right here. But remember how we took off the half kinships? So at this point we're going to put the half kinships back in there because AM was a half sibling for all of them. Now look what happened. I got score of 1, but the score of 1 here for where I believe I am is not there. But again, we got to define that half relationship. Now look what happens. I am 6 times more likely to be here than the others. So when you put it in there, it starts telling you, okay, based on the centimorgans, this is 758, and that's higher than this first cousin is here. So if this was first cousin once removed, that would make them the same DNA match as my first cousins and higher than some of my first cousins with the same bloodlines. That's not realistic, okay? That just tells you it's not going to be a first cousin once removed. There are some other ways to guess this, and of course the investigations that don't show on here. My mother recognized Larkin, okay, not Paul or Ernest. There was a period photo from the year that I was born, would look exactly like what they were. She recognized Larkin. Additionally, you have the fact that she remembers, taking him home from the bowling alley one night, not doing anything with him, but taking him home, which to that generation is tantamount of pointing your finger. And then also bear in mind that my mother was 19 and he was 26, and Paul and Ernest were 41 and 42 respectively, more than double my mother's age. Not saying that that's an eliminating factor, because we all have some stories like that, but yeah, mom recognizes Larkin, didn't recognize the other two. They're almost the same age, and these are a full generation older, and both already had families at the time. Again, not saying that it can't happen, but just mathematically it's 6 times more likely, just on the math. Now that being said, you can kind of look, remember, Rachel 200 to 400, 400 to 800, 730, double that would be 1400, but it goes up to 600. So you can kind of assume this, that this is my person, so their parent is going to be double that, so 15 or 1600. This one would be 15 or 1600, 15 or 1600, and the other one, if my father was there, would be 3400 to me. But that being the case, if you look and you see how they're going up that generation, that realistically is double. Now, you can't just put it in there. You don't have a DNA test, and there's no proof. But again, we're looking for the preponderance of evidence to kind of determine what we have. So if I took this known DNA test and I just doubled it, and that would be 1506, or no, 1516. And I'm going to put that in there, enter 1516. All right, save that. Now I'm 746 times more likely to be here than that. That is, the odds are, while they're statistically statistically possible, it's not probable. And so that's an important distinction. Why it is technically, mathematically possible, it's not really. And I'll show you why. So if we go back to the DNA painter, and we're going to go to the tools, the shared centimorgan tools, and we're going to enter that same number for 758. Okay, so we go 758, and now it's going to give us the kinships. It says you could be, 758. You could be first cousin once removed, or first cousin, or half niece or nephew, or half first cousin. Well, let's look at the tree. We know her mother was Rachel. Rachel's mother was Larkin. Larkin's was here. So we know the tree itself is correct. So if Morgana is 758, and let's say I was right here at hypothesis 2 or 3, Well, that would make Rachel my first cousin, and she would be first cousin once removed. So when first cousin once removed, she would be 758 in the node that says 102 to 980 is the range, with the the average or mean being 433. Or, as we said, these are lower than 17, lower than 850. All these are lower. So, or she would be slightly lower than the 871 average for a half niece or nephew. Okay. So, which one's more likely? Well, just looking at this, we can't tell. So let's just say this. We're going to double her number to 1516. Let's put that in there. Now, again, we don't have this number. This is a pure guess just to kind of let us know what we've got going. So if we do 1516, remember, she was first cousin or half niece or nephew. 1516 still works at a half sibling. 1516 does not work at a first cousin. See, 1516 goes to 1397. So right here, it says 0.13%. Now, see this little star? See the first cousin? This set of relationships has a positive probability in the DNA Geek's table of probabilities, but falls outside the bounds of the Centimorgan project. In other words, while it could be possible, let's click on it. All right, so we said it would be 1516 if it was doubled. 1500 is a 0. So the bell curve has already gone down to the bottom. So not only would it be a 1516 would be almost over here at 1, that would mean this one would go 0 1, and it'd be like up down, and that didn't happen either. So what that means is this person is not going to be my first cousin. Well, if I was here or here, the person would be my first cousin. The only way that fits, coming over here, is if that person was my half sibling. Now again, I don't have this number, and that's a total guess, and you got to be careful with those kind of guesses, because right here they have another child, and their child, let's see, and their child matched me at 378, I believe it was. All right, so look how close that is. If I was to double Kyle at 378, that would put Lonnie at 750. And if I put her at 750, then that would put her at 1500. And you can't do that. All right? So, but this 758, that is higher than some of my first cousin matches. So we know it's really in there. Let's take it and put it to a number that actually fits right here. So let's bring it down. We know, see, 866 is the average. So for the first cousin, she's like at the first cousin level, which would make her further up, but she's not. But let's say, what can we do here? We'll move that down. Remember, Kyle's was 378 to 471, and I'll get to that in a second. So that's what 10% would be 40. So let's say 20% less. So we double that 1500, take away 20%. So I think we can justify putting that at, say, the 1390 level. Okay. So we're going to use this same, I just cleared hers. I'm going to use that same percentage, okay? And we're going to enter the 1397, which would technically put it in the first cousin. All right? Now, again, it simply increases the likelihood. I went from 6 to 9. So if, here it went up 370, 750, 40% less. All right, so let's do 15, 16. 10% would be 150. Mark that down to 1200. Actually, let's see. This is double that, so let's go 900. Now, that wouldn't be. I wouldn't be related. I have to be under one of these two. All right, so what's the realism? Well, we don't have their centimorgans. And without that, like I said, it's 6 times more likely that this is going to be a doubled event at 15 to here. And that would make this one double the 15 to 3,000, which would be 3,400. Now, if this was a parent, that would definitely be 3,400 to me. And then the others would be probably 1,600. So if that was 34, then that's probably 17 or 16. And then this one would be half of the 16 would be 800, half of the 17, would be 850, and that kind of falls right in that range. So it is most likely, basically 6-to-1 odds that Larkin is indeed my father. Now, what I know 100% sure is that this is my grandfather. I know 100% sure that this is my aunt. I know 100% sure that this is my half-aunt. I know 100% sure this is the cousin, and I know this is the cousin because I'm not in that line because it's a half kinship line. I know these solidly. So it is important to get those DNA tests. So I come here, and let's add a child, and then let's do the child centimorgans. Now, this should be a telltale sign here because 450 means that this doubled would be probably 850, 900. And so if the child was 450, that score should go up because it really kind of reaffirms that this is going to be, a doubled event. That, like this 730 went to 16, that 440 went to 840, this 780 would go to 15, except, she's passed away. It really is a telltale that this one would be probably 15, 16. And so with that or higher, I'm guessing that it would probably be closer to what my aunt would be at the 1600, which would totally eliminate these other two. Okay, but since I don't have her centimorgans, there is no absolute 100% guaranteed proof other than my mom knows this guy, remembers that she took him home, doesn't know these two. This one's, her age. She was 19, he was 26. These were in her 40s. And the centimorgans matches with the preponderance. And statistically, it's already 6-to-1 without all that. So, yeah, Larkin's my father. Now, let's take a look over here at my mother's. My mother had a tree, and this was her tree. And her adoption, she was adopted as a right, and her adoption papers said that her father was Tom Seiler. Now, Tom Seiler had a son, TJ, and a daughter here. And, of course, I had my test, and Mom took the test. First, I'm going to show you my centimorgans to each of these people. Now, this person had brother 1, brother 2. They also took DNA tests. The centimorgan match for these was 0. Centimorgan match for this person was 0. And the centimorgan match for this one was 6. Which means now that Ancestry has thought to update all of this, I never would have seen this information. So, shame on that. Okay, we'll just say that like this. So if I use this hypothesis, what's the likelihood? Well, it's 0. Okay, well, let's take this off, and I'm going to change the centimorgans to be what they were for my mother. Now, my mother, she took the DNA test too. They didn't, not any of them matched my mother. So all 3 of these were Thomas Jefferson Seiler Jr.'s kids, and this was, Tom Seiler. That's supposedly, her father. So, oh yeah, we got a half kinship. We got to make sure we put that in play. Well, no, it's not going to matter because these are 0. So in the ball and pattern method, 34, 17, 850. So there is no variance to that, kind of like we showed in the DNA painter. There is no DNA deal for a half niece or nephew right here. Say the lowest is 492. There's no stretch that gets it down to 0. My mom didn't match any of these. I matched her. Now the irony, the interesting thing is, I'm actually related to these people through DNA. But that's because of my father's side. So since they connect to TJ Jr., either Tom Seiler or the wife of Tom Seiler is actually biologically related to me, but not my mother. So then I had to figure out, well, what's my mother's situation? So for time's sake, I already added in people in the tree. So I went out, knew she had a DNA surprise. I went with the DNA matches, started making these micro trees, and this is the micro tree that's pertinent. So for me, I have a DNA match, mother has a DNA match. I'm only going to show you on my mom's, and so use hypothesis, yes. All right. So with that, my mother is 453 there. So using the ball and pattern, it would be 34, 17, 850, 425, 212. All right. So it fits for the half kinship that's right here because, he was remarried. And so this is most certainly going to end up being my mother's family. So there you go. That's what are the odds. You can put in your tree. There is available to, you can sit here and you can load a tree. And so if you have a GEDCOM file, you can actually import that GEDCOM file and then lay the DNA matches that you have on top of that and really go to verifying your tree. So, if you need some help, logically looking at the tree, I've not used this tool, honestly, before today. But I did use it. I was so impressed with it that I thought I'd bring it to you. And one of the things that, of course, I look at the numbers and I've done the ball and pattern thing. So now in my head, I just see the pattern and I was like, boop, boop, boop. And it all kind of fits for me. And I know one of the biggest complaints I get in videos, Larry, you're jumping around too much and we can't follow you. I get that. And so this tool is the answer to that. Take your files, upload it here, and put those centimorgans in there. Just like every other thing that I've told you on the triangulation, warning, when you start doing this, you can find those misattributed paternal events. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, or if this helped you, look at the QR code, check it out. You can subscribe for an ongoing supporter or donate. Please feel free to do that. Subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell notification, because anytime we put one out, you'll get the bell notification. Check out the video and see if it's something that will help you. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing, and who knows what might happen to you if you don't. Ooh, see, that one was vague. I said I'd come up with a good one. Haven't had time to come up with some good ones there yet. I'll think of something. Anyway, and if you liked it, thumb it up. And if you didn't, thumbs down. But either way, tell me in the comments below. If you've used What Are the Odds, let me know. Did it help you? And if you've never used it before, after you use it, let me know. Did it help you? Okay? All right. That's it. We look forward to talking to you again soon.